does rotation mean? Well, rotation is simply a fancy word, okay, for making a turn. All right. So rotation means to turn something. So in other words, let's have a look at things in the real world, all right, where you're turning something. All right, so let's have a look at my page. Okay, so here are some examples, all right, of things that have rotations in them in the real world. So if we have a look at this first example, I'm going to click on it. Okay, I'm going to make it a bit bigger for you so you guys can all see it. This is what we call a spinner in maths. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. This little hand in the middle, if I click on him, he's turning round and round and round. He's making a rotation. The middle part is staying stationary, okay, as you can see, and the rest is rotating. All right. What other things in the real world make rotations? Well, this shape over here is what we call a windmill. All right, so you might have heard about windmills before. Windmills, they have a stationary point and they have these arms that also turn in the wind. Okay, the dreaded alarm clock, right, that wakes us all up for school every morning. Okay, so in real life, let's have a look at a clock. All right, here would be a clock. There is the second hand of the clock that's busy turning there at the moment, as you guys can see. And it has arms that make rotations around the face of the clock. So these are real world examples of what we call rotations in geometry. So just like if you had to stand in one spot and you had to hold your arms out and you had to spin round and round and round. Remember when you were little and you used to do that and make yourself really, really dizzy? Okay, that's what we call doing rotations. All right. In geometry, when a shape rotates, it does so around a central point. This point is called the center of rotation. So think of that point, right, where the shape is anchored while it spins. All right. So when you turn something, okay, like the hands of the clock, all right, or like when you're opening up a door and you're opening up a doorknob, okay, you can actually measure how far you've turned something. All right, what do we use to measure how far we've turned something? Tell me in the chat, guys. What do we use to measure how far we've turned something? All right, like if we look at these hands of the clock, what are we going to measure to how far we've turned something? What do you think? A protractor, good. And what does a protractor actually measure, guys? What does a protractor measure? Does it measure centimeters? Does it measure, what does it measure? What do you guys think? Good, it measures angles. Well done, guys, well done. All right, so when we're turning something, when we turning the hands of the clock, when we're turning a doorknob or something like that, all right, we can measure how far we've turned something. In geometry, we measure rotations in degrees. All right, so a full turn, so if you had to spin full around, we say that a full turn is 360 degrees. And if you turn something halfway, we say it's 180 degrees. Okay, shall we make a few little notes for ourselves? Let's write a few little notes for ourselves, guys. All right, so we can tell ourselves that first of all, tonight, let's take out our fun pen. Let's see. Let's go with this one tonight. Okay. So tonight we are looking at rotations. All right, so tonight we're looking at rotations. That's what we're busy working on. All right. And rotations are the same thing as turns. Okay, rotations are the same thing as turns. Rotations are the same things as turns, guys. Okay. We're going to say that they measured in angles. Right, so they measured in angles. A full rotation or turn is 360 degrees. So a full rotation or a full turn is 360 degrees. A half rotation or turn is 180 degrees. Okay. All right, while you're writing that down, I'm going to ask, does anyone have any questions at this point? Does everyone understand so far of what we're talking about? Okay, is everyone good? Everyone understand what we're talking about when we're talking about rotations? Songe? Songe, do you have a question for us? Hi, Songe.
Hi, ma'am.
What's up?
To ask, sometimes I struggle on how to use a protractor at school, so I wanted to ask, may you please show me how to use it, ma'am?
Of course. So, Songe, were you in class when we did constructions? We learned how to use the protractor when we were doing constructions.
I don't think so, ma'am.
Okay, so a little while ago we did constructions. I think it was in the beginning of this term. Mr. Hugo can correct me if I'm wrong, but in the beginning of this term we did constructions in class, and I pulled out the protractor, and I actually brought it on my screen for everybody. It was really cool. I had this really nice protractor, and I showed everybody where to put the dots, you know, the little dots on the because I agree sometimes it gets super confusing with the protractor. So
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Hugo's gone and he's put the link to get onto YouTube. All right. Have you been onto Watobe's YouTube site yet?
No, ma'am.
Okay, go and have a look. Mr. Hugo's put the link there. If you go onto that YouTube site, you'll see that all the lessons that we've done before are on that YouTube site. And you can actually go back and you can watch the lesson on how we did the protractor. It was the constructions lesson.
Okay,
if we get some time
thank you.
tonight, I'll actually show you where it is, okay? If we get some time tonight.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
No problems, Songe. Thanks.
Songe, we covered this between the 17th of July and the 4th of August. So you can just go check the videos on those dates and they will all have everything about protractors and all of that in them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hugo. I knew you would know the dates. Thanks, Mr. Hugo. All right, so I'm hoping that everybody's got the notes taken down. We're going to move on. Okay, I've got two more questions. I'm going to answer Katlejo's question and then we're going to move on. Katlejo, do you have a question for me?
Yes, ma'am. I was asking if hello, ma'am. I was
What's
asking
up, Katlejo?
if the half rotation is equal to 180 degrees, then is the quarter rotation equal to 90 degrees?
That's it. Well done. Amazing. You are right. Exactly. A quarter rotation will be 90 degrees.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well done. Thanks, Katlejo. Okay, guys. So we're going to have a look at the kind of questions that they might ask you in a test or at the end of the year in an exam. So let's go have a look at our worksheet for tonight. Okay. Let's have a look here. All right. Oh, let's find a nice color. There we go. Okay. Our little panda that looks a little bit scared tonight. I don't know why he looks so scared. I think it's because we're going to have to see my drawing skills. But no need to be worried. We're going to try as best we can. Here we go. It says, complete the table. Rotate each shape clockwise, all right, by the number of degrees given. Then draw the rotated shape. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, guys, is we need to think about what clockwise means. So I'm going to come here to my lovely options that I've got, and I'm going to type in here clock first. Okay, hopefully at your school, right, you guys have a clock on your wall somewhere. Okay, so hopefully at your schools, in your classrooms, okay, your teacher has a clock on the wall. I'm hoping so. Hoping that in your classrooms, your teachers have clocks on the wall, okay, or that you've seen a clock like this before. Okay, so hopefully you've seen a clock before, or your teacher's got a clock on the wall, or maybe you've got a clock at home, okay, but this is what a clock looks like, all right? And if we're looking at rotating a shape clockwise, well, clockwise goes from, and I'm going to move this hand quickly, all right? If I take that big hand, okay, clockwise is going to go from 12 all the way around to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going round this way from 12 to 1 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. Okay, so when they're talking about something moving clockwise, it's moving in this direction. Okay, it's moving in this direction. All right. So often students start getting a little bit confused when they see the words clockwise because they're like, ma'am, which way does that mean? All right. It's very easy for you to go and draw a circle on your page quickly and draw out a clock face. That might even help you if there isn't a clock in the room. Okay. So draw a clock on the wall on your page for yourself so that you can see which way clockwise actually means. All right. Then it says, by the number of degrees given. So I'm going to remind you again. Somebody said to me just now, 90 degrees means a quarter of the way. 180 degrees means a half of the way. 360 degrees means a full rotation, a full circle. All right. So I see I have some questions at this point. I want to answer them quickly before we move on. Mulalo, what's your question? Oh, she's gone. Mulalo, was your hand up because you wanted to answer the question before I brought it up, I think. Azande, do you have a question for me?
No, ma'am. They were going to answer questions.
You're waiting to answer the question. Okay, cool, Azande. Thank you. Zibusiso? Hi, do you have a question? No? Okay, so guys, I'm going to move on then. I don't think everyone's good. I think you guys are waiting for the questions to come up. Okay, I'm going to leave this clock up for us so that we can see what's going on. Let's have a look. I'm going to do the first one with you guys, and then I'm going to let you try do some by yourself. Remember, we're going to be drawing together. I hope that you've got your pens ready. I hope you've got your papers ready. Let's go have a look. So we're going to be drawing 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and 360 degrees. So let's go and draw for ourselves what these angles actually look like. So if we're drawing 90 degrees, then 90 degrees is going to do what? 90 degrees normally looks like that, all right? If something is 180 degrees, if something is 180 degrees, then it is going to look like that. Okay. Oh, if something is moving 270 degrees, guys, how are we going to show 270 degrees? Let's think about it. Well, if we've got 270 degrees, we've kind of got a line like this, okay? And we could do it like that, and it's like on the outside like that, hey? So that would be 270 degrees. And finally, to show 360 degrees, what's going to happen? It's going to go in a full circle like that. So 90 degrees moves like that. 180 degrees is going to move flat like that. 270 degrees is going to kind of move a quarter of the way or 3/4 of the way. And 360 is going to move in a full rotation. Okay, let's go give it a try, everybody. Let's go give it a try. Oh, of course, look at that first drawing. Look at that first drawing. So in this first drawing, I've got a triangle and it's got a little circle on the top of it. So I've got a triangle with a circle on the top of it. Okay, triangle with a circle on the top of it. I'm going to give you a minute or two to go try that. Go try that triangle with a circle on top of it for me. Go try that triangle with a circle on top of it. What do you think it should look like? Go do your drawings for me. Even if you are wrong, I want you to try. Even if you're wrong, I want you guys to try. Go try it out. Go draw it. Go try it out. This is a nice lesson because even if you aren't, if you don't really like the numbers in maths, okay, this is drawing, and so this is something that you can at least try. It's like trial and error, guys. So go try it out. Right, go give it a try. And for some of us that don't like drawing, we don't always like this section. I know, I get that. I get that. We don't always like this section. So I understand that. I feel you. Some of you that don't really like this section, I get that. Okay. All right. Okay, for the next one, I promise I'll give you a little bit of a longer try. I want to have a look at how the first one is going to look. So forgive my drawing, guys. I'm going to draw it freehand. Hopefully you've used a nice ruler and you've had, you've been drawing it nicely. So here we go. So I've got this triangle. If I am doing it by 90 degrees, it's almost like, do you agree? I've kind of like pushed it over onto its side if I'm doing it by 90 degrees. So it's almost like I've pushed it over. So if I'm pushing this over by 90 degrees, okay, then this triangle is going to look kind of like that. So there's my triangle. Mine's not perfect, I know. Yours will look a lot better, okay? But there he is. I've pushed him over. Okay. All right. How do yours look? Do they look kind of the same as mine? Are we good? Am I seeing some nods of heads? Yeah? Okay. All right. If I'm taking this shape, okay, and I am moving him 180 degrees, so I'm moving him almost over, I'm like kind of moving him halfway over, then it means what? It means that he's going to go from being that way to being this way. Hey, look at my drawings today. It'd be good if I had a ruler.
It's almost as if that panda knew what was coming.
It's almost as if that panda, I know, Mr. Hugo, I told you my drawing's not great. I'm good at math, art not so much. But I know some of our students will be much better at drawing, hey, Mr. Hugo?
I am sure, but teacher goes, I'm just kidding. It's just funny that the panda's face is so good.
Okay. All right, guys, let's have a look at that third one. What's that third one gonna look like? Let's see. So that third one now, we should kind of be getting the gist of this now. We could kind of be getting the gist of this now. This is almost all the way over. So this is gonna look like this over here. Okay. Oh my goodness, Mr. Hugo. And finally, in the last one, what's going to happen? What's going to happen in the last one, guys? It's going to have gone all the way around. It's going to have gone all the way around. So it's going to look exactly the same as what it should look like. So there we go. Back to what it should look like. Exactly the same, guys. All right, so I know I have some hands up because people want to answer the next one. I get that. I know that some of you are waiting for the next one to come up, but what I want to do first is I'm going to bring up the next question for everybody. All right, actually, I'm going to bring up the next two for you guys so that you can go and try. I'm going to drop everybody's hands in the meantime and find out if there's anybody who actually wants some help. So is there anybody first of all who needs some help? Okay. All right. So if your hand is up, it's because you want to ask me a question on what we just drew. Hey guys, not to answer answer the question, to ask me a question on what we just drew. Okay. So let's go. Mulalo, do you have a question for me? Mulalo, do you have a question for me? You should be able to unmute yourself. Okay, I don't think so. All right, Mulalo, I'm gonna move to Brianna, if that's okay. Brianna, do you have a question for me?
Ma'am, must our drawing be on scale, ma'am?
So, Brianna, if they're giving you like little blocks to do it in, and you're gonna see we're gonna do it with blocks just now, then yes, then we'll have to do it in scale. But if they're just giving you to redraw the picture and they haven't said to you to draw it in scale, then no.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
You're welcome, Brianna. All right. KG, do you have a question for me?
Ma'am,
Yes.
how do you measure sides that are not straight? Like
How do you
tilted?
measure? Absolutely, KG, I agree with you. How do you measure and how do you make sure that they're perfect? So KG, it's a little bit tricky, especially if you're not dealing with using blocks. So you're going to see in the next question that we do, that we're actually going to do, or in the next section, we're going to use a grid. And in the grid, it's a lot more helpful because the grid actually allows you to measure the shapes a lot better.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thanks, KG. All right. Let's go to Lashidi. Lashidi, do you have a question? Hi, Lashidi, do you have a question for me? All right, I don't think so. Okay, guys, so I hope that you've had fun drawing those shapes. Okay. Oh dear, I don't know why my screen has gone funny for you guys now. I am going to show you what your shapes should look like. So you should have been drawing those two shapes. It's a little bit tricky for you guys to share your page with me. I get that. So I am going to show you what the answer should look like. So let's have a look at your answer. Okay. So for those two shapes, oh dear. All right. We should have shapes that look as follows. Okay, so for B, when we move it over to 90 degrees, it's kind of like you push it over, and so he falls to that side. When he moves over to 180 degrees, okay, remember, it's like he's gone almost halfway over, all right? 270, he's almost all the way back, and 360, he's back to his normal size. So it's almost like you want to do the 361 first. That's what I would start with. Start with the 360 because that's the easiest one to do. For C, if we look at the 360, there he is. He's all the way back to where he should be. All right. If we go to the 90, oh, this is a confusing one to look at because it's a ball, and the ball is a little bit tricky because it's got all these lines in it. But there we go. So the ball is a little bit more tricky to look at. All right, guys. So I want to have a look now at what it would look like if we had to draw it using a grid. Because like you guys said to me, ma'am, how are we going to get it into scale? How does it look like if it's in scale? Okay. How do we make sure that the drawing, it stays on the same shape and the same size? Right. So I'm going to move our page down to that question for us. And let's have a look at that. All right, so it says, for each question, draw the diagram that is the result of the final rotation. A, rotate diagram A 90 degrees clockwise, and then it says 180 degrees clockwise. So we're going to focus on doing it 90 degrees clockwise. Okay, so we're going to focus on doing it 90 degrees clockwise. Are you ready, guys? Are we ready? Okay, so we're going to use this point over here. Oh, damn, the pen's gone flat. Okay, so we're going to use this point over here as a point of reference. All right, and we're going to rotate our drawing 90 degrees clockwise. Right. So, oh, sorry everybody, where did that drawing go to? Just took on another page. There we go. All right. So at the moment, okay, the first thing you would do, all right, is you would go and you would draw points on your drawing. So you can see that this is in a grid. So I would go and I would put a point on that grid. I would put a point on that grid item. I see that I've got it on a point on that grid. And I can see that, you see that that circle and the triangle, they kind of meet at a point over there. Right, so that's my first tip. Put all your points onto your drawing. So I've put my points on the triangle and I've put my points onto the circle. Okay. Now that's going to make your life a lot easier, guys, because now I'm going to go and I'm going to rotate each of those individual points. So I'm going to start, all right, and I'm going to rotate the individual points that we have. So starting with this first point, okay, if I think of this, okay, if I think of each of these as arms, all right, so if I think of each of these as arms, so here we go, I'm going to draw the arms for you, right, I'm going to do them in yellow so we can see them nicely. Okay, so from this point, there's that arm. Can you see it? All right. Okay. I want to draw a 90-degree arm. Are you ready? So a 90-degree arm. Let's draw a new arm. Sorry, everybody. Oh, get my drawing hand out. Let me do that. So let's do that. My new arm, I'm going to make him in blue for you. So there he is. 90 degree from that point. He would be over there. How do I know that's 90 degrees? I could get my protractor out So I could go and get my protractor out, I could measure it, but I can roughly see that that's 90 degrees, okay? I'm checking to make sure that it's got the same measurements, all right? So from that point, I've got 1, 1, 2. Here I've got 1, 2, and there I draw my first point. So that's 90 degrees. Now that I've done 1 point, guys, I've rotated 1 point, so can I go and draw my new drawing? Yes, I can. What you could do if you really wanted to is you could go to each point and rotate it from there, but that's really complicated. So I'm going to go and I'm going to say to myself, okay, from that point to my next point was 2. I'm joining that up. From that point to the top of my triangle took me to about there. And join that up and that up. And on top of my triangle, I had a circle. Okay, I'm going to make this new one purple and green for you guys. Make it purple and green for you guys. There we go. Okay. All right. If I lost you, don't stress. We're going to go and we're going to rotate this triangle 180 degrees now. So if I lost you with a 90 degrees, don't stop panicking. We're going to go rotate it 180 degrees now. So stick with me. Stick with me. We're going to go see what happens if I rotate this triangle 180 degrees. Okay, stick with me, guys. Stick with me. Here we go. We're going to rotate this triangle 180 degrees. Are you ready? Okay, are you ready? So,
Teacher Kirsty.
Yes, Mr. Hugo.
I'm sure it's good practice anyway, but the question I think said 90 and then 180 anti-clockwise again.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Hugo. I did not see that. 180,
but I'm sure
90
we can
clockwise.
do both.
I am so sorry, Mr. Hugo. You are completely right. I didn't read the question. I just saw anti-clockwise at the beginning. You are completely right. Mr. Hugo is right, guys. Teacher Chrissy did not read the question. And so, Mr. Hugo, do you agree? I probably would have not got full marks for that.
No, Teacher Kirsty, I think you would have got half of the marks if I were to mark your exam.
Mr. Hugo, you're so kind. Mr. Hugo is right, guys. I was testing them though, I think, Mr. Hugo. Hey, Mr. Hugo is right, guys. I went and rotated anti-clockwise. He's correct. I didn't read the question right, guys. Did you see that? So I went anti-clockwise. So Mr. Hugo is completely right. The question said to go clockwise, hey? So it said to go clockwise, and I went anti-clockwise. So that was good practice. You are right, Mr. Hugo. Mr. Hugo, should we go clockwise? So that it is good practice. You are right.
I think we should go clockwise, and I think that everybody should make a little side note with an asterisk on their pages to remember that whenever in an exam or anywhere, Teacher Kirsty showed us tonight, you can be as good as you want to in math, but if you forget to read the question or go over your question too quick, you might not get all the marks. So that's an important lesson to also learn tonight, guys.
You are absolutely right, Mr. Hugo. If we read too quickly, we don't get all the marks. Right, guys, so we went anti-clockwise. Mr. Hugo is right. We are now going to go clockwise. Okay, guys, so Mr. Hugo was right. We went anti-clockwise. I didn't read the question correctly. So it did say clockwise here. So let's go clockwise. All right. So we're going to go find the clockwise position now. I'm going to do the clockwise position. Let's do the clockwise position in a different color. Let's do it in this like greeny color. Okay, so that was the clockwise or the anti-clockwise position. Let's go rotate it in a clockwise position. So if I'm looking for 90 degrees clockwise position, okay, so I want to rotate this clockwise, all right? I'm still going to go and look at my my line that I drew. Okay, and now I need to take this line. I'm going to go delete this other line, otherwise it might confuse us, everybody. Okay, and I'm going to draw a new line on here. So here is a new line that I'm going to do. I'm going to do a dotted line again. I'm going to do it in a new color for us. All right, I could take my protractor out at this point, but for now, I'm going to just freehand it because it is a little bit more helpful for us. All right, and that takes us to that point over there. Remember, what did we say before? This point where the triangle was at, from that point to the point of the triangle was 1, 2 spaces. So this new point is going to be 1, 2 spaces. So here we go. We're going to draw it. And it's going to be 1, 2 spaces. Now that we've got that first point joined, what can we do? Now, instead of going and drawing all our little points, what are we going to do instead? We're going to redraw our triangle. So there's the 1 point, there's the other point of our triangle. Our third point is about halfway up over there, and then we've got our circle. We're going to join up the points of our triangle, and then we're going to color it in. We're going to color it in my favorite color, in the purple. All right. And so that means that we have now rotated our triangle in a clockwise position. Okay, everybody, I hope that you stuck with us.